Iran has a new president. Reformist candidate Masoud Pezeshkian won 54% in a second round of voting. His hardline conservative opponent received only 44%. Initially, there was no major candidate in the first round, which saw the lowest voter turnout in a presidential election since the Islamic Republic was formed in 1979. The election was nearly 2 months after Iran's former president, Ibrahim Raisi, was killed along with his foreign minister and several others in a helicopter crash. CBS News senior foreign correspondent Elizabeth Palmer has more on the election. Elizabeth?
Masoud Pezeshkian went into this election as the long shot. In a system dominated by hardliners, many Iranians were surprised that he was allowed to run at all. He beat his conservative opponent on Friday by a comfortable margin, and so he will become Iran's next president. He's a moderate, and at 69, the oldest man ever to hold the post. Pezeshkian is no stranger to the rough and tumble of Iranian politics. He's been a member of parliament. He was, for a few years, the health minister in one of the country's most liberal governments back in the early 2000s. He's also a heart surgeon and single dad who brought up 3 children after his wife and youngest son were killed several decades ago in a car crash. During his campaign, Pezeshkian promised to relax the strict enforcement of rules on women's headscarves, the kinds of websites that young Iranians are able to access online, and he also suggested that Iran's prosperity depended on better relations with the West and even a return to the nuclear deal. This undoubtedly helped him to win, but no one can call his victory a ringing endorsement. Less than half of Iranians even bothered to vote. And the ones we spoke to in Iran 10 days ago said they had no faith in their country's Muslim Shiite autocracy. They didn't even want to legitimize it in any way by casting a ballot, even for a moderate. Pezeshkian's power will be limited. He will certainly not be able to change national security policies, which are controlled by the Revolutionary Guards, things like Iran's support for the Houthis and its armed proxies in Lebanon, Hezbollah. And he will be walking a tightrope the whole time, trying to nudge policy in a more liberal direction without provoking the conservative supreme leader who, when the chips are down, John, ultimately calls the shots.
Liz Palmer in London. Thank you so much, Liz. For more on this, let's bring in Eric Lob. He's an associate professor in the Department of Politics and International Relations at Florida International University. Eric is also a non-resident scholar with the Middle East Institute's Iran program. Thanks so much for being with us, Eric. The U.S. State Department acknowledged Pezeshkian's win, but also added the election was not free and fair. Help us understand how it wasn't free and fair to understand his election.
Well, Iranian elections are never fully free and fair with the intervention of the Guardian Council, which is a 12-member council that's appointed by the supreme leader and the chief justice of the country. And so prior to the election, as is always done, there was a vetting process conducted by the Guardian Council where multiple candidates were disqualified. And then the field was set between 6 candidates, 5 of which were different shades of hardline and conservative. And then you had, which was, again, a surprise and something that was unexpected, where you had a reformist, Masoud Pezeshkian, who was able to slip in there as a 6th candidate leading into the election.
I think I'd like to get your take on where you think the Iranian populace stands. In 2022, we saw considerable unrest in Iran over the death of Mahsa Amini at the hands of the morality police. Last year, there was an uprising following the executions of several men. So, you know, in America, where elections are a place for the populace to speak its voice, how should we understand the level of Iranian popular sentiment outside of this electoral context?
Well, quite simply, since 2021, since the presidential election of the now late president, Ibrahim Raisi, the state or the regime has undergone a serious legitimacy crisis because of the economic adversity the country has faced, because of increased social and religious restrictions, which led to those protests that you mentioned, the Mahsa Amini protests in late 2022 and early 2023, followed by more protests. And so, as we've seen with even these elections and the low voter turnout since 2021, in the area of 40% or so, where this regime or state used to boast about voter turnout being in 60, 70%. This is a clear signal from Iranian voters and citizens and the population at large that they're just giving up on the ballot box as a means of achieving any sort of change within the state and within society.
The president-elect has been a proponent at some level of restarting talks, nuclear talks with the West. Remind us of where the Iranian nuclear program kind of stands now, and how we should evaluate that idea of restarting those talks.
Well, as of now, the Iranian program has been increasing levels of uranium enrichment, anywhere between 60 and 8%, increased stockpiles, where there's estimates by national intelligence agencies and even international ones that they're just days or even weeks away from producing several weapons. But Iran has not fully weaponized that program, and so there's still a window here, as narrow as it may be or as slim as it may be, for some engagement between the West and between a reformist politician and even the wider regime, if conservatives and hardliners will allow for it, to engage on this issue and to try to scale back, as was once done in 2015, Iran's nuclear program in exchange for economic sanctions relief.
And is that the motivation, Professor, that basically the sanctions have worked at some level? Or in other words, Iranian life is so hemmed in by those that's the incentive for negotiation on the part of Iran?
It is. There's a linkage here. When you look at the campaign and even debate statements by Pezeshkian, he's created this linkage between the economic adversity that Iranians face, for example, high inflation, currency devaluation, and these persistence of U.S. sanctions, particularly since 2008 and the U.S. maximum pressure campaign. And so, as Rouhani had done during his presidency 2 presidencies ago, there may be a sliver of hope that if there can be a deal that's reached that died in the water in the spring of 2023, that perhaps there can be some sanctions relief and some economic amelioration in Iran in exchange for a scaling back of those nuclear activities.
Professor Eric Lob, thank you so much, Eric.